What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the PGA DFS Model Breakdown. Should be a fun week. It's the start of the FedEx Cup playoffs. If you do hear a kid screaming in the background, last week before school starts, man, it cannot come soon enough. Love my little man, but yeah, been a long summer with him home every single day. So he's playing some Roblox with some friends. So if you hear him in the background, yeah, just ignore it. So last week, pretty crazy at the Wyndham Championship. I mean, we had the weather. They canceled, all of Thursday's round. So they had to get the first two rounds in on Friday and Saturday. Then they tried to get, all 36 holes of the final, two rounds in on Sunday. You had Max Krazerman, who had a big lead, made the 8 on the par 5, par 4, I think. They bounced back with a birdie on the par 5. And then 4 putted the par 3 for a double bogey, and at the same time, Rye made a birdie to take the lead. And Aaron Rye, man, he's been a regular feature of mine and my betting articles and my core plays articles. So nice to see him come through with the win. He was a core play last week in my core plays article on RotoGrinders. Yeah, it was a great performance by him. And if you look at his stats, I mean, he had been awesome with the ball striking pretty much all year. And then over the last 2 months, he's been great with the putter. So it wasn't a major surprise to see him win. I didn't have an outright on him last week. I am kicking myself for that a little bit. But still had a pretty good week when it comes to DFS. So let's turn our attention to the FedEx St. Jude Championship. 70 golfers in the field this week, which means there's not going to be a cut. After this week, the top 50 in ties the top 50 in the FedEx Cup standings are going to go play the BMW Championship. After the BMW Championship, the top 30 in the FedEx Cup standings are going to go play the Tour Championship. So there's a lot of exemptions on the line when it comes to signature events, majors, things like that. And then there's a ton of money on the line over the next few weeks. So a lot to play for. And I do like the golf courses that are coming up. We haven't seen next week's course in action, but it's going to be 8,100 yards in Colorado. So with that elevation, the guys are just going to be bombing it. Can't wait to see that in play. But this week we have TPC Southwind, par 70, 7,243 yards. Water's in play on 11 of the 18 holes. There are a ton of penalty strokes here just because of the water hazards. The fairways here very narrow, 29 yards wide on average. The greens here very small, 4,300 square feet on average. Just to put that into perspective, most courses on the PGA Tour between 6,000 and 7,000 square feet. Then you have Pebble, which are really tiny. So they're not quite as small as Pebble Beach's greens, but they are very small. They are tough to hit in regulation. And to me, this kind of emphasizes approach play and around the green play. So approach play, if you want to make birdies, you got to hit good approach shots into these small greens. And then if you do miss the greens, which is going to happen a lot this week, you're going to have to scramble with the best of them. Now, we have seen a lot of small, bad putters perform well here in the past. Will Zalatoris, Lucas Glover won here last year. Justin Thomas has won here a couple of times. So I much prefer the guys that are strong tee to green rather than the good putters. Although, if you have a full, complete game, that never hurts. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at this week. The greens themselves are Bermuda. The course is in Memphis. And I think that should just about do it for the preview. So let's take a look at the model, see what stats we are weighing this week. I got 6% off the tee, 3% to total driving, 16% to strokes gained approach. As always, the expected approach column here. It's just who I expect to gain the most strokes on approach based on their expected approach shot numbers this week. So let's say Scheffler is expected to hit 12 shots from 150 to 175 yards in the fairway. That goes into this number. And then it is all based on Data Golf's expected approach shot lengths, which is kind of cool, I think. So Scheffler number 1, Hoagie 2, Connors 3, Finau 4, Xander 5. I got 5% to around the green, only 4% to putting. So one of the lowest that I've had all year. 3% to birdie or better, 5% to bogey avoidance. Course history hasn't been super predictive here over the years, largely because of the water that's in play. The more water hazards that there are, the more volatility that's going to come into play. So you're going to see a lot of guys with spotty course history. That's why I have it at 4% this week. Course fit, I just have this in just to look at. These are Data Golf course fit rankings. I don't have them weighted at all in the model. This is par 70 courses with high water danger. So this comes from the rabbit hole on Best Spurts. If you do want to check that out, It's my favorite stat engine to use. You can filter by any condition that you could possibly imagine. And courses like this, they're great because you can filter for very specific things like par 70 courses with high water danger. If you do want to check out that stat engine, we do have a sign-up link, little discount code for you if you want to check that out. So guys that are the best on these courses over the last 2 years: Scheffler, Hovland, Rory McIlroy, Cantlay, Brian Harman. Golfers that are the best on courses with small greens over the last 2 years: Scheffler, Xander, Morikawa, Hovland, and Rory McIlroy. And then guys that have played the best in the strongest fields over the last 2 years: Scheffler, again, 100 on each of the different comps this week: Xander, Morikawa, Rory, and Hovland. So Hovland's up there a lot, which is surprising. He's been pretty bad all year, but this does take into account the last 2 years. I got them weighted each at 6%. As always, you have the cuts made and recent finishes over the last 10 weeks. The form is broken out into short-term form, mid-term form, long-term form. It just depends on what you prefer. I like to mix it up, kind of keep an even distribution between the three. But if you want to look at guys that are just playing well right now, you can bump this up. Guys that have just played well, over the long term, you can bump up long term, whatever you would like. If you are a premium member, you can download the model, customize it to your own liking, come up with your own rankings, and then download them upload them right into Lineup HQ. So let's take a look at the overall rankings. We'll go through the field. Again, there's only 70 golfers in the field. I do have notes for every single golfer. So if you want to read those, feel free to do so. At the very top, we have Scotty Scheffler. No surprise there. 12-4 and 13-2. He is pricey. And when I've been playing with builds, I don't love starting with anybody at the very top. In terms of Scheffler or Xander, I just like the balanced build a little bit better. Again, all golfers are guaranteed to play 4 rounds, so you can certainly make a case to play Scheffler. I think he's won 7 of his last 13 starts, coming off a win at the Olympics. Man, I don't know. The course history here isn't great, especially the last 2 years. That's a little surprising. And again, the volatility is higher this week with all the water in play. We have seen him win, Bay Hill, the Players. So he certainly doesn't mind water, but I don't know. 12-4, I'm going to be underweight. It scares me, but that's just what I'm going to do. Same thing for Xander. It's just more of a roster construction thing. Xander's played fairly well here, but I mean, one top 20 in 5 years, I wouldn't say that's necessarily good for his standards. So if there ever is a week where I could see just a random winner or an unexpected winner, it's going to be this week. Maybe next week too with the course that we don't know, but I do think there is a case to be underweight on those 2 up top. I do love Morikawa. If I am starting with anyone above 10K on DraftKings, it's going to be Morikawa. Didn't play the best at the Olympics, but T24 is still a good finish. He's finished T16 or better in 10 straight PGA Tour events. He's got the best course history of anyone above 10K. And he's the best course fit, too. He's extremely accurate off the tee, good iron player, good around the green. And this year, he's been good putter. So the last 6 months, he's top 25 in this field of short game putting. So I do like Morikawa a lot this week. No strong take on Ludwig. And Rory being number 5 in the model is a bit surprising. He has been a top 5 machine. He does have a couple top 5s here. I just, the price point's just hard for me to get to. I do prefer him over Ludwig if I'm playing one or the other, but Morikawa is really the only guy up here that I want to prioritize in lineups. Love Russell Henley. When you talk about a guy that hits fairways, good iron player, good short game, that's Russell Henley. T6 here last year. He was tied for the lead on the back 9 with Glover. His approach shot on the par 3 on the back 9 hit the green, rolled off, and then it landed. It looked like a sprinkler head, but it was just like this big hole in the ground, and he didn't get a free drop from it. And then after that, I think he hit it in the trees on his next drive and made a double. So finished T6, but man, he should have won last year, at least been right there at the end. I like Connors. He's been just on fire lately. The putter's finally coming around a little bit. I think starting with those 2 makes a lot of sense. My favorite play of the week is going to be Sung Jim at 8,700. The model doesn't like him quite as much as some of these other guys, but T12 or better in 8 of his last 11 starts. The driver's been good. The approach has been good. We know he likes short par 70s, especially on Bermuda grass. So Sung Jae, one of my favorite plays on the board. He finished T6, T12 here the last 2 years. For tournaments, I love Patrick Cantlay at 9,700. He's a guy that hasn't played a lot this year. He's only played once in the last 7 weeks. But T3 at the US Open, T5 at the Travelers, T25 at the Open, and he loves the playoffs. So this is the time of year where he really comes alive. He won 2 of the playoff events in 2021. He won the BMW Championship in 2022. Then he lost in a playoff at this event last year to, let's see, who won? Oh, Lucas Glover. So, I mean, Love can't lay this week in tournaments. I don't think a lot of people are going to play him. They're having 18% right now. I'd be surprised if it ends up being that high, but I could be wrong on that front. Just check ownership projections throughout the week, and those will be updated on RotoGrinders. No issue with Fleetwood, no issue with Hideki. Don't really have a strong take for or against them. Aaron Wright, 8,200, clearly underpriced given his form, right? Second, seventh, fourth, a miscut, and then he won last week. He's been awesome. He's a good course fit. My problem is he's coming off his first PGA Tour win. Usually when this happens, we see a little bit of a lull. You know, it's just such a weight off the shoulders that it's hard to keep that going in the near-term future. So I do think I'm going to be underweight on Aaron Wright, even though he does feel underpriced. Moving down, I like Shane Lowry, especially if he's going to be 10% owned on DraftKings. He's been playing well. He missed a cut last week, but he gained 3.1 strokes ball striking. I've talked about bad putters playing well here in the past. T6 here in 2020. So there are a lot of reasons that you can make for him, especially at low ownership. Tom Kim, perfect course fit for him. He's got a couple top 25s here coming off of a T8 at the Olympics. Again, Hovland just doesn't rate that well, even though he projects really well in all of the comps. Nobody's going to play him. So if you do want to, go with the contrarian route, you certainly can. Tony Finau is one of the better iron players in the field. He's got very mixed history here. Only one top 25 in the last 5 years. I'll probably save him for next week. He's from Utah, so going to be used to playing at elevation in Colorado next week. So I think that's going to be a better fit for him. Yeah, Tagalo's got 2 T13 finishes here. JT's won this event twice. He could be interesting at 6% ownership. Seabez, 7,300, continues to just have a high floor. I'm not sure what his ceiling is in this field. His struggles off the tee worry me a little bit, but there are a lot of lesson driver holes on this course. Davis Thompson's the first timer here, projects well, but does worry me. Love Billy Horschel. So he's a streaky golfer, finished T2 at the Open Championship, finished T7 last week. If you look back at his track record at this event, he has 5 top 10s in his career. He's just one of those guys that tends to be streaky, and we've seen him make a run through the playoffs before. So I do like him. I like Harmon. No interest in Burns. Adam Scott's been playing well. A couple T2, T10, the last 2 events he played. They were both in Scotland. Straka, love him in tournaments. No strong take on Cam Young. This doesn't feel like the best course for him. Moving down, Grazerman, no idea how he's going to react. So back-to-back second-place finishes is great, but the meltdown on Sunday, certainly a concern for me. I think Siwoo Kim's a pretty good course fit. He's a terrible putter, but the tee green game is good. And again, we've seen bad putters play well here in the past. I like Ben Griffin, T7 last week. Talked about him on this show last week. T24 here last year. Makes a lot of sense to me. I like Denny McCarthy. He's an accuracy putter type. I like Eric Cole, finally playing well again after a really bad stretch for like 6 months there. But 3 top 10s in his last 5 starts. Played well here last year. T31 finish. I think that'll do it. So I want to wish everyone the best of luck this week. As always, appreciate you joining me for these videos. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind. Leave any comments if you do have any questions this week. And yeah, let's manifest a big week. Let's win some money. Good luck. See you next week for the BMW Championship.